So hi everyone, David Fergale, co-founder and chief product officer at Autonomy. I'm here to talk to you guys about our new project that we've just launched. And I think when a lot of us look at the future and we start to imagine how technology is going to impact and shape our future, we often look at things through maybe it's one specific lens of a new technology trend such as blockchain. So for example, when you look at the future of mobile payments, and you might look at the smartphone and you might look at this new thing called blockchain, cryptocurrencies, how is that going to impact the payments landscape? And you might be able to come up with a handful of various thought experiments, come up with some new ideas for how that future might look. But oftentimes when you do that, a lot of just human nature, we fail to recognize the other forces that are at play, the other technologies that are out there on the horizon that are being incubated and iterated upon that may play a role into that future. And that's really the hypothesis that Autonomy project has looked at, which is taking a look at the future of payments, for example. What is the impact of technologies such as machine learning and AI as well as IoT? How will that impact the payments landscape? Is there a potential where the smartphone is maybe just one of the pieces of the entire mobile payments future? Maybe it's one in which devices, machines may be a part of that future, meaning more of a machine-to-machine commerce element. And that's really how the Autonomy project has started, where we're looking purely from an IoT security perspective. What is that future for machine-to-machine commerce? And I think our future, we're rapidly approaching this world where devices will take over quite a bit of our economic legwork, a lot of our day-to-day tasks. For example, that insulin pump that a diabetic may have over time, that decrement on that insulin pump may hit a point where it triggers a resupply, and there's a connection between that producer and that consumer, and there's a digital currency that actually facilitates that transaction. So that's one example. Another one could be the smart meter on our home that actually negotiates for real-time electricity and power on a real-time basis using a new form of payment, which is vis-a-vis the blockchain and the cryptocurrency. So in terms of the IoT market, if you look on the right, you see just a massive adoption scale, a tremendous opportunity, 50 billion devices coming online by the year 2020. 2023, 2025, we're talking 75 billion devices. So just a massive increase of 5 million new devices every day that are coming online. And when you look at that, it presents really massive security issues. How are we going to trust all of these devices if they are indeed performing payments on our behalf? How will the human actually evolve into a way that we trust our devices but then have a level of governance out there? That's really the spirit and the problem that the Autonomy project is really trying to solve, is to move away from this world where we have issues like Verizon and Equifax being hacked because of a weak sensor or a weak thermostat. How can we actually create a level of security around that? So what is Autonomy? Autonomy is a new security protocol. It's a security protocol designed specifically for the world of the machine-to-machine commerce, the Internet of Things. It's a blockchain-based technology that will enable billions of IoT devices to have trusted interoperability. This interoperability will enable not just a level of information exchange and data exchange between devices, it will also enable a level of commerce as well, using the Autonomy token. So how are we going to do that? What's underneath the Autonomy hood, so to speak? What we're talking about is, one, rooting the device identity of every device on the blockchain. By enabling the blockchain, taking advantage of the distributed ledger as well as the decentralized architecture, we can create a root of trust that hasn't been there to date. And that will then become kind of the source of record for all of these devices. Then as these devices live their life out into the wild, they're going to have positive behavior and they're going to have negative behavior. So for the folks with a finance background or a payments background, the FICO credit score model comes to mind here. So if I want to have a transaction with another human, I have to, if I don't trust them, go through the process of evaluating their credit score, and if it's maybe above 700 or 680, I'll say yes. If it's maybe somewhere in the 500s, I say no. Same idea for devices. The devices of the future are going to need to autonomously assess another device's credit score, or the reputation score. And that's what the Autonomy network's going to bring, all rooting back to that initial trusted transaction on the blockchain. Our extensible architecture is one in which we're going to enable many different types of companies to come and build on our platform, enable this security layer for the future of the Internet of Things. We've actually just recently signed a partnership with a company called Switch.io. Switch.io is looking at the peer-to-peer microgrid market in the developing world, where they're going to be putting solar panels up, helping incentivize the adoption of solar panels on these homes in the developing world that are going to allow those homes to generate power and then sell that power to their neighbor, essentially creating a mesh microgrid, all enabled by their token, which would then obviously be tied to the Autonomy network to allow for secure data to actually flow through those microgrid devices. And then finally, our tokenized ecosystem. So what we mean by that is that by having a native token, the Autonomy token on our network, we're going to incentivize a higher degree of security. And what that means is every time that ledger needs to be updated, there's going to be a token that's involved in doing that. And that token is then going to be a form of incentive for the participants to actually adopt the network, use the network, maintain a higher degree of security on their devices. That might mean being rewarded for updating the latest software patch on your device. By doing that, you might be rewarded by getting a token. You might actually engage in a higher degree of commerce as well as a result of that, driving lower fees for your own productivity within your own, whether industrial, commercial, or residential use case. The old world was looking at everything through the lens of a silo, right? Siloed devices and manufactured ecosystems. Every vertical trying to maintain security over their data. And that created fragmented, disparate network, so to speak, of just silos that couldn't talk to each other. You really couldn't figure out at that point how to deal with this scale, how we're going to deal with 50 billion devices that represents 2.5 sextillion number of potential interactions between those 50 billion devices. That's equivalent to the number of grains of sand on Earth. So how are we ever going to secure that with this old world thinking? The hardware is also a solution that's out there right now. So there's various hardware solutions to create security in these ecosystems. But that's really how the old world has been addressing it. The new world with Autonomy, leveraging blockchain technology, is one in which devices can be trusted. So moving from the old world of anonymous first to moving one in which it's a known trusted environment. Smart cities, healthcare, biometric data, all is going to be a big concern in the future as these IoT innovations continue to pop up and become more pervasive in our lives. Security obviously is paramount, but they can all use the Autonomy protocol. So we're creating that low-level protocol that will reach across smart homes all the way through the industrial IoT. Trust and reputation scoring is a method that we're bringing to this new world of IoT. That's going to involve some on-chain and off-chain activities. For example, the reputation engine having real-time analytics and AI and machine learning on how those devices' behaviors are then mining the previous history on that blockchain. That's all, in many cases, going to be advanced AI that we're going to use off-chain. Then we're going to have on-chain, which is the ledger of the activity of those devices over time that will then create an immutable ledger. And then also the chips themselves. So what's really great about this is we're spinning Autonomy out of an existing operating company called Sentry Technology. Sentry has been, for the last better part of a decade, securing all the chips already in ARM Flextronics devices. Think of the Intel Health Gateway that's just come out. Flextronics is a key contributor into that solution. Sentry is there securing the chips, so securing the data that's coming off of that sensor to the cloud. Sentry has some really interesting technology that can actually compress that data down 80% of its original size, use high degrees of cryptography and encryption to secure that data in transit. We're leveraging all that technology for Autonomy. That's going to be part of the software stack that we're going to be rolling out here in the near future. And finally, this is our team. We have a strong mix of IoT, cybersecurity, as well as blockchain talent that's all coming together to solve this problem. We have some advanced academic credentials as well through Carnegie Mellon, MIT, and a handful of others, including Stanford. So that's us. That's Autonomy. I just would like for everyone, as you start to think through the future, kind of my takeaway is that just think of all the various convergences that are coming and innovations around. We can never truly predict it, but we at Autonomy feel in order to realize this full potential in the IoT, we're going to have to address the cybersecurity issues first, and that's essentially what we're doing with our low-level protocol. Thank you.